Residential tenants are starting to move out. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. I have my stein of coffee and I thought we'd look at this article from Domain because, well, I don't think it will surprise many people. We're starting to see more residential tenants moving out. Well, in New South Wales, this data shows. Now, there's been talk of rental prices reducing for several reasons. You're getting all of the short stay holiday accommodation now going onto the long-term rental market. You're getting student accommodation appear onto the rental market. It's going to be tough for them, particularly if they're in like a building which is limited to who can go in there. So it's definitely going to be there'll be opportunities for renters here. We'll have to see, guys. We've had one person in the comments mention that they got a really good deal. They got a bigger apartment in the complex they were living in, so that'll make moving really easy, at less rent than what he was paying in the previous one. So there you go. People are going to start cannibalizing. This is the problem with these big apartment complexes or these developments. You're competing with your neighbors. If you want to sell, if you want to get rentals, it's not much effort to move from one room to another. Sure, it's painful, but it's a lot less painful than having to take everything out, put it in storage. We're even seeing people start to offer free rent periods. I suspect it's going to turn into a similar situation like the commercial sector, where they entice you in, they give you incentives to get you in. Got to try it, guys. Got to try it. So, let's have a look at this. Spike in New South Wales tenants moving out of rentals amid the illness pandemic, data shows. The number of renters leaving homes across New South Wales has already spiked amid the pandemic, new figures shows. Tenants across more than 26,500 rental properties got their bonds back last month, data shows, with a large jump in those handing back the keys after fewer than 100 days in a property. That's pretty short. It could also be families and people are moving together to save money. We've had Rachel's sisters now moved in with us, so she can save money. You want to consolidate. Yeah. I can see that happening more and more. More people are going to move back home, to be honest. Younger people, if they can, move in together, go into rent out a room. Figures from New South Wales Fair Trading show residential bond refunds jumped 7.5% over March and were up 17% year on year, while new bond lodgements were up 3.2% over the year. It's an interesting early bit of evidence about what could be a significant impact on the state of the market, said Chris Martin of the City Futures Research Centre at the University of New South Wales. While rental bonds can be released for a variety of reasons, including the end of a lease period or breach of agreement, Dr. Martin said the illness and its economic impacts were the prime suspect for the spike. He said April figures would print a better picture of the impact of early job losses, noting the number of homes vacated could increase as more tenants grappled with reduced incomes. Well, yeah, we're sitting at 27% underemployment and unemployment at the moment, according to Roy Morgan. That's a big figure, guys. That's a big chunk of the workforce. This is going to go on for some time, and people who are worried that they may not have the same job to come back to will be thinking about whether they can afford to stay in the same house, Dr. Martin said. Well, yeah, that's it. If you're in a one-bedroom apartment, you could find a bed somewhere. You could move in with family. Get a caravan, backyard. Find ways to save money. I think this is going to start happening. It's going to be tough for the people that have... I remember, we looked back at these articles months ago, like on Domain or the Property Spruikers. Young couple excited, pay $200,000 over reserve to get, such and such a little two-bedroom place in Sydney. And going, oh, we're so happy. It was a bit more than we wanted, but we got in the property market. What's going to happen to people like that? Default risks are worrying Moody's, particularly about the minor banks. NAB is, well, their profits are smashed. And yet people expect a V-shaped recovery, guys. And property's going to bounce back. You've got to understand, even if the economy just starts chugging along again, everything returns. There's going to, we've taken a hit. We got a torpedo in the side. We're taking on water. We've got to patch that up before we can keep going. Can you tell I was playing World of Warships? So, March also saw a sharp rise in the number of bonds held for 100 days or less. These shorter tenancies for houses, units, and terraces were up 30% from February and 46% year on year, with the biggest jump in those ended within 25 days. However, these leases still made up the minority of tenancies, ended at 4.2%, up from 3.3% the same time last year. Domain economist Trent Wiltshire said there's been increased churn in the rental market, with tenants responding quick to job losses due to weeks of uncertainty around government support for tenants and landlords. As many as 1 in 6 Australians have already changed their living arrangements due to the pandemic, a recent St George Bank Property Monitor survey revealed, with people moving in with family or friends, taking on additional housemates, or moving to more affordable properties. Well, yeah, exactly. I can't imagine that's going to surprise anyone. That's good to see. I mean, people are planning, they're taking it seriously. They're going to adjust to this. But, I mean, we had a look at an ABC article about a guy who was rent vesting. He couldn't scrape together another $100 to keep his property because his tenants couldn't afford to pay. Maybe we'll start to see, maybe housing affordability, maybe the price of property will come back down. We'll bring up this one here. I mean, there you go. Look at our property growth. Maybe these investors will start to trickle back down as more of these properties that they can't afford to maintain. Maybe they're in negative equity. If property prices go down, maybe they are not getting any tenants, or maybe they've got tenants they can't kick out. And then housing may start to become more affordable for people. Mr. Wiltshire said households would continue to consolidate as the economic downturn led to more job losses, in effect reducing rental demand at the same time as supply was increasing. There you go. I mean, of course, that makes sense. You're getting more people moving out of rentals, consolidating into smaller, so there's more stock on the market, more competition. So, maybe a good time to look at your options. But the problem is, jumping from one property to another, you can get stuck if you can't raise the bond, the moving costs. Also, it's opportunity to sell all the junk and crap you've been dragging around. Have any of you looked into the minimalist movement? There's some people that have got so little stuff. So little stuff. It looks appealing, but then again, I am standing here with literally 6 computer screens in front of me for my primary workstation, not the one behind me, so I really can't talk, can I? So New Sydney listings were up 15% in the 4 weeks to April 19, as short-term holiday rentals and homes previously for sale returned to the rental market. Mr. Wiltshire expected this would push the vacancy rate at 2.7% in Sydney last month higher in the coming months. Apart from revealing the length and cost of a lease, the data also shows how much of a bond was refunded to a tenant and landlord or agent. The number of households who lost their full bond was up 16.4% year on year, but the proportion of bonds lost remained relatively stable at around 15%. So more people are losing their bonds. What does that tell me? What will I take from that? From my own experience, the only time we lost a bond was when we bought this house, and I think Rachel said they were not happy. We cleaned that place like insane, or we broke leases. Said, nah, we've been there 6 years. We're gone. We're buying a place. Bye. And so they said, and she just said, keep the bond. Don't care if we get a stain. We're not renting again. Now, hopefully that wasn't a mistake. Hopefully we won't have to rent in the future. But I would argue, is this because people are breaking bonds to get out of these situations to reduce their costs? Because it may still be stable, but it has increased. For shorter tenancies, this climbed to 26% of full bonds lost, but this was an improvement on the previous March. This group of renters lost 590 of their bond on average. While the state parliament has been recalled to pass a 6-month support package for landlords and tenants, the delay in a rental relief announcement created a lot of anger for both tenants and investors, said Amy Sanderson, head of property manager LJ Hooker. Okay, I know we are degrading into a socialist civilization, but why do we want the state to prop up investors? Can someone explain to me why? Can someone explain to me why someone who has a wealth of properties should be propped up and their children's children who can't even imagine getting into a house are going to cop it? Come on. I'm over it. I'm sick of this stuff. It's just handing out money to everyone left, right, and center. It's not free, everyone. Either we pay it back, or if you're an MMT magic person, they'll tax us more in the future to managers. I mean, come on. So last month was full of activity. This month's it started to level out a bit, she said. If people can't afford the rent in many cases, they're thinking I'm better to get out than have an arrears sitting there. That's where the higher vacancy rates is coming from. Ms. Sanderson expects this to slow as government support payments flow and more rent reductions are negotiated where necessary. While some tenants and landlords were being unreasonable, the majority were empathetic, she said. The increase in properties to the market was also making vacant properties more affordable. Landlords under the new measures to go to Parliament on May 11 have to negotiate with households that have lost at least 25% of their income before they can seek a force to end a tenancy. Some renters are still struggling to negotiate, according to the Tenants Union of New South Wales. The Tenants Union is aware of multiple cases of landlords initially stonewalling tenants' request for a rent reduction or insisting on rent deferrals instead of rent reduction, said Senior Policy Officer Leo Patterson-Ross. Well, you know what it could be? It could be that these rent-vestor geniuses are so tight to the line they can't afford to give a reduction. Should a landlord, can you blame them wanting to risk losing their home for someone else? This is putting tenants impacted by the illness in a difficult situation, where they accrue a debt to be repaid as soon as the memorandum lifts, or they are forced to break their lease to avoid rent they cannot afford. Yes, and that's life. Too many tenancies, they'll find something a lot cheaper. There's more stuff on the market. Then the landlord learns a hard lesson too. Too many tenancies are still vulnerable to termination, said Dr. Martin, noting that if rent negotiations failed, tenants still face the prospect of being evicted. He also feared the measures will be used to limit other tenants from having usual market conversations about a rent reduction in a falling market. Michael Connolly, head of Network Property Management at McGrath, said the number of tenants seeking rent reductions had not been as significant as expected. About 2.1% of tenants nationally sought reductions in March. However, he expected this would increase as more people came under financial strain. He added McGrath had not seen a spike in lease breaks, but felt this could possibly be due to the location of their Sydney offices in more affluent areas. Yeah, I don't know why they're talking to McGrath about this. You need to go to the western suburbs in Sydney. You need to have a look at, I'll bring up the unit price growth chart. They need to go into the red rooster line, the western suburbs, the suburbs where property prices haven't grown as much. Why are you asking McGrath? I guess it's free advertising for them. Name recognition. Maybe I'm getting too cynical, guys. Mr. Connolly expects vacancy rates for small apartments who see the biggest jump as it becomes harder for people to live on their own. 2/3 of bonds held for 100 days or less for 1 or 2 bedroom properties. While the median rents for these properties was $460 a week, more than 30% of the houses and 40% of units were priced above Sydney's median rates. So there we have it, guys. There we have it. More calls for intervention into this market. And smart people are preparing. What do you think? Where do you think it'll head? Should we, the state, intervene and help those poor landlords. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Thank you all for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and you want to support us, there are a few ways you can. Share the videos and content, help the channel grow. You can join the channel on YouTube or Patreon. Support us via our affiliate links at Amazon or eBay or Independent Reserve and Kucoin. Send us gold using Gold Pass from the Perth Mint. Buy our merch from HeiseSays or support us via PayPal. Thanks everyone. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.